Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to this seminar on the Portuguese laws in force in Goa, organized by the Goa Legislators Forum in collaboration with the North and South Goa Advocates Association. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very momentous occasion as we are here today to deliberate on the existing laws in force in this state and the new law proposed to be enacted by our legislature.
What we call the beginning is often the end, and to make an end is to make a beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, a journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step. So before we go on to march on this expertise which is going to be shared by the legal luminaries and experts later in the day, may I request Advocate Vandana Jog to escort the President, North Goa Advocates Association, Advocate Sanjay Rani, on to the dais. Advocate Minty Das to kindly escort President South Goa Advocates Association, Advocate Jogi Souza, onto the dais. Advocate kindly escort Member of Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, Advocate Antonio Lobo, onto the dais. Advocate Harjeet Kaur to kindly escort Honorable Secretary of Goa Legislators Forum, Advocate Herculean Dorado, onto the dais. Advocate Rameshwari Kaur to kindly escort the keynote speaker, Advocate Dr. Elgar Narona, onto the dais. Advocate Gilroya Correa to kindly escort former MLA from Margao and presiding officer for today's seminar, Advocate Uday Bemre, onto the stage. And lastly, Advocate Sarojini De Costa to escort the Chief Guest Justice Fardeen Rebelo. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, a good beginning often makes a good ending. So before we make a good beginning to today's seminar on the Portuguese laws in force in Goa, may I request the Honorable Secretary of Goa Legislators Forum, Advocate Herculean Dorado, to kindly welcome the august gathering and to lay before us the objectives of the seminar.
Mr. Chairman, Advocate Uday Bemre, our Chief Guest, Justice Fardeen Rebelo, Keynote Speaker, Mr. Advocate Elgar Narona, Member of the Bar Council of Goa and Maharashtra, Advocate Antonio, President of North Goa Advocates Association, Mr. Sanjay Rane, President of South Goa Association, Mr. Joaquin D'Souza, respected judges, and there are many of them, other judicial officers, Mamlatdars, sub-registrars, members of the Bar of Goa, members of NGOs, ladies and gentlemen. It is always a great pleasure to welcome dignitaries, but today my pleasure and joy is greater as the dignitaries are members of our own family and our close friends. But before I formally welcome them, let me dwell a little on the purpose of this seminar for which we are all gathered here. The Goa Legislators Forum has one of its objectives to discuss and debate on the new legislations bills that are introduced in the Assembly. In 2005, the Goa Succession Special Notaries and Inventory Proceedings Bill was introduced in the Assembly for the first time, and the same was referred to a select committee of the House. The committee had then invited public objections and suggestions to the bill and had held hearings where members of public made their points. The forum took the opportunity to hold a two-day seminar to discuss and deliberate on the said bill and come with concrete suggestions. As a conclusion of the seminar, we at the forum decided to do a detailed study, sought time extension from the select committee, and with a dedicated team of lawyers from all over Goa, held several study meetings, sometimes overnight through 6 months, and submitted a report to the committee, which agreed to consider the same and place before the Assembly. The select committee, however, could not submit its report. The House was dissolved. Resultantly, the bill lapsed. The government, however, came back with the same bill in 2008, and once again it was referred to a select committee of the House. It was old wine in new bottle. The forum mobilized the whole team of lawyers and members of the forum to prepare our case before the new committee. The North and South Goa Advocates Association, represented by Sanjay Rane and Joaquin D'Souza, Advocate Lobo, put up a strong case against the bill. On behalf of the forum, our submissions to the committee, consisting of honorable MLAs, were as follows. The Uniform Civil Code as applicable to Goa is a Portuguese legislation and the books are not available. Even if they were made available, very few lawyers in Goa today know Portuguese, and probably no member of the present Legislative Assembly knows enough Portuguese, if at all, to read and understand it. The bill is to amend the existing law, yet no mention of the provisions sought to be amended are quoted. Under the circumstances, we suggested to the committee that first they should get all the Portuguese laws still in force in Goa identified and listed. Second, they should translate all such laws into English and then proceed to amend the existing laws. Third, not to segregate or split the existing Uniform Civil Code, and whatever changes are to be brought, the same be done in existing code itself. Further, we sought time to make a proper report with concrete suggestions, hence this seminar. So at the end of this seminar, we shall place some resolutions going by the trend of various sessions for the purpose of forwarding the same to the select committee. To have an uniform civil code, an integral combination of all branches of civil law has been the goal of every great civilization. Justinian did it for the Roman Empire, Napoleon for the French Empire, Bismarck and Kaiser Wilhelm for Germany, Jeremy Bentham wanted one for England. His disciples Macaulay, Sir Henry Maine, Whitley Stokes, Arthur Hobhouse, Frederick Pollock and others through half a century codified civil law in India with a view to eventually have an Indian civil code. It is a known fact that the father of Indian Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and other constitutional stalwarts were committed to have an Indian civil code. Several Indian leaders, legal luminaries, and members of higher judiciary praised the Portuguese civil code applicable to Goa. In the light of such overwhelming historical unanimity, many wonder whether carving out a separate law like the Goa Succession, Special Notaries and Inventory Proceedings Bill out of the very heart of the Uniform Civil Code is a wise move. It is my humble submission that the very foundation of our peaceful Goan society, the amity between people of various castes and creed, the lack of gender bias, and greater equality amongst spouses in our Goan society, in contrast to laws in the rest of the country, amongst other things, would be at risk of being lost if the Uniform Civil Code is tinkered with and split into separate laws. The repeal of these family laws by labeling them as outmoded colonial laws in favor of a return to personal laws would indeed be, to quote the former Chief Justice of India, Y.V. Chandrachud, a retrograde step. The code surely needs changes in keeping with our 21st century lifestyle, but the same could be done in the code itself by maintaining its integrity. Once split, the fear that the high priests of fundamentalism, coupled with the present-day politics of opportunism, will soon destroy this our unique heritage of which we have been so proud as Goans. As an MLA, I have been asking the governments in 1980 to identify the Portuguese laws in force and publish them into books, but nobody took it seriously. These issues, plus the fact that laws have to be translated, was taken up by us in my secretary's report on the Legislators' Day on 9/1/09, when the CM gave an assurance that government would be willing to have the code and other laws translated. However, he had entrusted us the task of searching for experts to do the job. So I immediately approached the Portuguese Council, the director of Fundação Orient, the Institute of Camões, which is involved in teaching Portuguese in Goa, and it is then that I learned that the Instituto de Cooperação Jurídica, the Faculdade de Direito da Universidade de Lisboa, coordinated by Professor Dario Moore Vicente, who is the president of the institute, published the Portuguese Civil Code of 1867, also known as Código da Seabra, in Portuguese as well as English. I contacted him when he came to participate in lecture series in the Salonga Law College, during which the book was released, and asked him to send us a 1,000 copies as our lawyer community and others interested would buy the same. He however told me that their institute is a non-profit organization and that as such they do not sell the books published. So I requested him to send 1,000 books to the forum free and that we would make them available to everyone. That day he started the process when we met over lunch by presenting me with one copy. More have been given to Salmonkar Law College. We have also requested him for rights to publish as we could. Ask the Goa government, our Chief Minister Mr. Digambar Kamath being very cooperative. Meanwhile, the forum has gifted you a CD copy of the book, which will be a valuable treasure. Since the start of my practice in '74, I was searching for a copy of the code. 5 times that I was in Portugal, I couldn't get one, although the code had already changed in 1966. In Goa, those privileged few who had the book treated it as sacred scripture, not to be touched by those who didn't have. So we in that group became untouchable. Forget about taking it out of their office. Even in their own office, they would barely allow you to touch it. One reason being perhaps that the old pages are fragile. The new generation perhaps have given up on it and have no love lost, as even after nearly 50 years, the family laws, 50 years since liberation, the family laws and the other Portuguese laws are not even part of the legal curriculum of our university. Who is responsible for this state of affairs in Goa? That the domain of knowledge of Portuguese laws remained with a few, and many a one-eyed man became kings. The successive governments are perhaps not as much to be blamed as the peers in our legal profession and judicial system. I believe in the Christophus spirit, and rather than curse the darkness, light a candle. It is that candle that we lit with the seminar, study and report that led to installing the bill in 2005 and 6. The candle we light with this seminar and the candle we light by gifting you the translated civil code. It is for all of you now to carry forward the mission to uphold our rich heritage by lighting as many candles. Today, we must recognize the tremendous efforts put in by Advocate Manuel Ruscaunter, Advocate Mariam the Costa in translating part of the civil code as their books became the only refuge of the present-day lawyers as well as the judicial officers. Similarly, their contribution and sacrifices and their sincere efforts put in bringing up the present bill, along with Advocate Fernando Colas, retired Judge Noron Pereira, Advocate Philomen Reyes, and others who form part of the drafting committee. There is no inkling of doubt in our mind that they are the most knowledgeable in the Portuguese laws among the legal fraternity in Goa. The proof is that one of them had just 2 days back been elevated to the Bombay High Court bench. We wish to congratulate Justice Philomen Reyes. We have no doubt that he will make the Goans proud like every other Goan that preceded him to that bench. The new breed of lawyers have an investigating and inquiring mind, and I am sure that now that they have the copy of the civil code in hand, they could make their own suggestions towards the changes to be brought in the code in order to make it relevant to modern times. This publication, which is placed in your hand, is not complete civil code. There are parts yet to be translated. Professor Dario has agreed to have the balance translated, as also the other laws still involved, provided we can identify them and give it to him. That is therefore another task in all our hands, and the members of the drafting committee can be the biggest help in this regard in identifying the Portuguese laws still in force. The Goa Legislators Forum have given you the platform, and we hope today you will make good use and have fruitful deliberations. It is my privilege today to welcome the North and South Goa Presidents, Mr. Sanjay and Mr. Joki, who have by themselves and through their members helped in organizing the seminar. A hearty welcome to Mr. Lobo, who is the first Goan member elected to the Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa. He is making his presence felt and is already on the way to open an office of bar council in Goa soon, thus providing several services to Goan lawyers at our doorsteps. With a relieved mind, we also welcome Dr. Elgar Norona, who besides being unassuming, is also very, very shy. So shy that he gave us a lot of tension as he fluctuated between coming and not coming. We most heartily welcome Justice Farin Rebello, my colleague at Government Law College, that proved to be a friend. We together fought for Goan causes to our government meeting and office fellows. He is a member of our Goa Legislators Forum. Many may not remember that he was a trade unionist, became an MLA from Kumpoling. Had he continued, he might have been the Chief Minister by now. But then he changed course, and we are proud of what he has achieved as a member of the judiciary. And we have no doubt that he will adorn the Supreme Court of India in the near future. Today, we miss Honorable Speaker Mr. Pratap Singh Rane, who is also the President of the Forum, and who was to preside this function. Although he was keen to attend, it is the last moment advice not to attend in view of the election code of conduct that prevented him from coming. I personally miss him because he is the alpha and the omega of all that we do through this forum. It is his unstinted support and his democratic approach in encouraging such activities that nudges us on to do what we are doing. We have nevertheless today an illustrious personality to replace him. It was at the 11th hour, at 11th and half hour, that we requested Advocate Uday Bemre, who is also a member of our forum, and to say he obliged would be minimizing his contribution. He saved our day. It is said that Dane Dane pe likha hai khane wale ka naam. So we think it is destiny that brought such a befitting personality to preside over this function. A lawyer of repute, a freedom fighter, a Konknivadi, a writer, a poet, a thinker, and above all, a simple and humble man who was gracious enough to accept to be the stepney. But I know for sure that this is an MRF player that will perform better in this arena. In fact, if you see his nameplate, it is on the smaller letters than the others, as it was a last moment edition. A very warm welcome to Mr. Bemre. A very warm welcome to all the judicial officers, to all the lawyers, to all the executive magistrates, and everybody who has come to be a part of this momentous occasion. Kindly do us a big favor. Please put off your mobiles or put them on the silent. If you do not know how to handle it, ladies generally have this problem. I said it at the last seminar. Men have problem shutting their wives at home, and ladies have problem shutting their mobiles outside their homes. So please take help of your neighbor and just see that you switch it off. Thank you.
We thank you, sir. But I think the ladies might take umbrage under Article 14 to that last one of yours. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we must appreciate and acknowledge that today's conference is organized largely due to the efforts of Advocate Herculan Doraga. I request Advocate Minty Dias to kindly offer a bouquet to Advocate Herculan Doraga. Thank you, sir, once again. Our keynote speaker for today is Advocate Elgar Norona. Advocate Norona advocate and well-known advocate, who is the author of the book Understanding the Common Civil Code, An Introduction to Civil Law. There is another book that he is authoring called Principles of Private International Law in India, Adequacy of Principles in Comparison with Common Law and Civil Law System, which is in the process of being published by Universal Law Publishers, New Delhi. I request you, sir, to kindly deliver the keynote address.
Advocate Uday Bemre, presiding over today's function. His Lordship, Chief Justice F. Senior Judge of Bombay High Court, Mr. Elkulandora, Secretary of Goa Legislators Forum and the main force behind today's function. Advocate Antonio, President, Member of the Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa. Advocate Sanjay Rani, President of North Goa Advocates Association. And Advocate Joaquin D'Souza, President of the South Goa Advocates Association. Honorable members of the judiciary present here, member of the Law Commission, Advocate Joaquin, distinguished lawyers, other distinguished persons in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. We have met here today regarding the Portuguese laws in force in Goa. After liberation of Goa on 19 December 1961, many laws have remained in force, like the Code of Comunidades, the Civil Registration Code. There was a Property Registration Code which was repealed in 1965, and we have, of course, the Civil Code. Now, at the outset, I would like to just focus on this label of Portuguese laws. How Portuguese are they really? You take the Code of Comunidades. It is a statutory regulation of an institution which is very much ours. It is typically Goan. There are no comunidades in Portugal. There were autonomous village organizations in the rest of India, which somehow they disappeared. The only place where they seem to have survived is in Goa. And that survival is largely due to that Code of Comunidades. Can we really call it a Portuguese law? It is only written in Portuguese. It developed during the Portuguese rule. There were many codes before the present one. There was a code in 1933, there was one in 1900 or so. There was a code in the 18th century, 1735. Right from 1526, there were regulations in the area of comunidades. And comunidades, as you know, were the essential component of Goan economy. Goan economy for many centuries meant only comunidades. It was a purely agrarian society. Can that law be just called Portuguese, or is it our own local law? Going to the next one, the Civil Registration Code of 1912, under which we register our marriages. It was written in 1912 by a Goan, the then Attorney General Dr. Antonio Noronha, not my relative. And it is a very native legislation, which unfortunately it's in Portuguese. It is so typical, only a Goan could write that. It's all for Goa, about Goans, with all the examples, illustrations, everything in our context. This is a typical native legislation, and it has it contrasts with the recent legislation that we have, like our Tenancy Act, Monkar Act, Rent Control Act, which are not properly drafted with respect. So shabby, so confusing, so incomplete. But that code has a standing of its own. But it is very much a local statute. Well, but today we are here more to talk about the civil code. We have to talk about the civil code because civil law is the most important area of law. Civil law is the mainstream of the law. The trouble in our country is that we have forgotten the mainstream and we discuss everything else except the mainstream. We don't even know what that mainstream is. But the fact remains that civil law is the heartland of the law. No civil law, the rest of the law becomes, insecure and shaky. Well, the civil code, before I proceed, I enter into this subject of the civil code, I would like to cover the other thing that we call Indian law. Is it really Indian? Most of the laws that we call Indian laws were made by Englishmen. They were made by the British, by English law commissions in the 19th century. as you might be knowing, many of you know. During the 19th century, right from 1833 till the end of the century, there were 4 law commissions consisting exclusively of Englishmen only. There were only Englishmen in those commissions. And they are the ones who framed those laws. Those men were, I should say, they were great men. I must congratulate them, but the fact remains that they were Englishmen, they made the laws. In fact, the second law commission sat exclusively in London. It never came to India. They were always there. It's written in the history books. Because there was no need and there were no suitable persons in India. This is what is written. There were suitable persons only in England. Well, these statutes made by these 4 commissions are, as you know, all of you know, and by that date you know the rest. Civil Procedure Code 1859, reenacted in 1882 and then in 1908, and we are using it till today. Every day our practice runs on that CPC. Then you have the Indian